Ticketmaster had this big Taylor Swift concert, right? And the fans were really upset because they were like the fans who really wanted those tickets and wanted to go enjoy those shows were not able to do it because the scraper bots and the bots in general had kind of like come in and blocked so many things and hoarded and they did all kinds of malicious activities. So it was a very unfortunate, but I think it's become a much more awareness around these in many industries.
Hi, this is your host Pim Bhartia and welcome to TFR Let's Talk. Today we have with us once again Rupesh Chokshi, SVP and GM of Application Security at Akamai. Rupesh, it's great to have you back on the show.
Great. Thank you so much for having me again. Look forward to this conversation today.
Yeah, and you folks recently announced Akamai Content Protector. So we are going to primarily talk about that announcement, but let's just kind of build a framework. What is Content Protector? What problem you're trying to solve for customers?
We'll kind of like take a kind of macroscopic view, right, in terms of what's happening. So we see this sort of, scraper bots or this kind of, on the public internet, there are engines that are constantly, gathering information, looking information, and some of it is very, relevant or productive. Like, for example, if we are, as a user, trying to buy an airline ticket or we're trying to get a hotel room, there are these aggregation websites, right, that might, bring the information back and say, okay, these are your choices, these are your prices. You could look at product comparisons, or you could look at, pricing comparisons, or what are the best places to go acquire a certain product or a certain capability, etc. Right? So those are the kinds of things where these scrapers are used, and it's a very valid use. Then you start to get into the same technology in a malicious way is utilized to do much more harmful things, whether it's in the fraud space or abuse. For example, we see a lot of like, competitive undercutting or, surveillance of the inventory of that, prime sneakers or some kind of an expensive, leather bag or other things that are being kind of like, hoarded or put aside and not getting to the right users or the consumers. You see, the same kind of scrapers go and build like counterfeit websites, and that's where they sell the counterfeit goods, etc. And then the last of it is just these are bot attacks and more. So they are constantly putting kind of pressure on the company's website and applications. And what that does is that it reduces the performance. It kind of frustrating for the normal users, right? One of the most evident example that we all experienced much recently, which is in public domain, is Ticketmaster had this big Taylor Swift concert, right? And the fans were really upset because they were like the fans who really wanted those tickets and wanted to go enjoy those shows were not able to do it because the scraper bots and the bots in general had kind of like, come in and blocked so many things and hoarded and they did all kinds of malicious activities. So it was a very unfortunate, but I think it's become a much more, awareness around these in many industries.
When we look at scraper bot, that is, they have been around for a while. The new challenge that is emerging is with the Gen AI. Search engines are getting overwhelmed because, suddenly you see kind of made up content on the first page on the very top. How different is this from a scraper bot, or you see that this is evolution of the same problem?
I think it's a great point, right? And I think it's a combination, right? Where what the scrapers are doing is they're bringing in a lot of this kind of different information from different places to make it all look and feel as authentic as possible, right? And then the generative AI is utilized, or social engineering is utilized to give it the authenticity or make it a lot more real, right? So normal human beings fall trapped to those kind of situations. So what we have seen is that the threat actors, the adversaries, have become a lot more sort of intelligent in utilizing multiple techniques. There's also this discussion in the industry that there are human beings who are acting as bots in low cost countries and just kind of doing the fraud or attacking, like they're called as bot farms or something like that. So this combination of technology, generative AI, scraper bots, bot and more, this addition of the human aspect, all of that makes it very difficult for our customers to identify who are the real customers and users and end users that they want to serve.
As you gave example of users get affected, let's look at it from the perspective of companies, who are either coming up with new content or new product. What does it mean for them? What I'm trying to understand is when we look at scraper bot, for whom this is bigger problem. For consumer it is a problem too, but it's much bigger problem for the industry as well. So I'm just trying to understand how those players look at it, and then we'll talk about what they are doing to kind of contain this problem, and then we'll talk about how Akamai is entering to solve it. So it's like three-step question.
Clearly, from an industry perspective, large enterprise government agencies who are in this sort of like B2C interactions, right? That's where we see the most prominent use, whether it's in e-commerce, in retail, hospitality, travel industry, etc. But applicable to so many other examples. There's one example that I'll share is we had this kind of high tech customer. So it was more on the technology company, but these wave of malicious bots would come in and put tremendous amount of load on their website, on their sort of first pages, on their ability to even kind of render the information for the valid users, etc. So once we deployed Akamai's account, the content protector capabilities, this innovative design did the whole detections, and we were able to identify when the scraper traffic went from a staggering 25 million to a 70,000 incidents, right? So the scale at which the attacks were happening, we were able to significantly kind of bring it down, and then eventually, the bots went away and disappeared, right? So these detections, these protections, applicable to so many different industries, different types. You asked about, how Akamai comes into play. So we've been in this sort of, abuse and fraud space for a number of years. We have a premium sort of, bot mitigation product. We have a premium account protector product capabilities. This is a little bit more differentiated and unique, where we are focusing on certain aspects of the technology and the secret sauce that focuses on scrapers and scalpers and just very sort of intent driven things that are happening, and they're not trying to sort of like do a account takeover per se, but they are trying to still do fraud and abuse in different aspects, right? So our technology has the ability to utilize multiple things, whether it's application level, protocol level, looking at the telemetry, looking at the movement, so many different capabilities that comes into our detection engines, and we're able to stop the scraper bots at the edge and then allow the normal traffic to kind of go through. And we do some of these things very quickly. So for example, we can provide a response in sub 1 second in milliseconds, right? So the user who is a valid user does get to do what they need to do with the application or the web application, but we have found a way to prevent the scraper bots. Now, we take all of that information and we go through the content protector engine, and it is learning constantly. So through the learning process, we make it even that much more sort of better. And now it has sort of the ability to even support and help more customers, right? So this combination of the innovation on how we do it and this constant sort of learning process where we use AI ML really kind of differentiates what Akamai is bringing forward in the marketplace.
Can you go a bit deeper into the the tech aspect of it, that how it protects?
So I think there's a number of things we look at, right? So these are very kind of tailored detections that we go deep into. So protocol level assessments, right? What's the traffic types? How is it coming? What are the areas from which it is coming? What is the speed at which it is coming? Application level assessment, where we are looking at sort of what type of information is it looking to extract or kind of take on. The user level interaction is very interesting, because we know that if the user is utilizing the mobile phone, the pace at which they can move their fingers or the clicks or all of those things, human behaviors versus bots or machine behaviors are the places where we can do some identification, some differentiation. And then, it's very interesting, like, human beings, behave a certain way. And in most cases, those patterns are very kind of, unique, as in they're not cookie cutters, right? Like the way I would do it today and how I would do it tomorrow is not going to look the same. It's going to have some level of variations. Versus clearly with the bots and the machines and the scrapers, we can figure out if this is just a machine generated item. And then we do a risk score, we do the classification, posture management, etc. So that's where we feel we have some unique advantages, some unique intellectual property that we have deployed. And we're seeing, great momentum and great results for our customers.
And where does this content protector run?
So it runs, kind of from our architecture perspective, it runs at the edge of the network. So it's really, close to that interaction that happens, right? So let's say a normal user traffic comes in, we do the inspection, we make a determination and say, okay, fine. If you're shopping we'll do an example. If you're on a customer who's an home improvement retailer in the United States, you're going to that website, we'll do the whole kind of check and we'll say, yep, this user is valid. We've done it. And if it's a scraper bot and we see certain detections kick in, we're going to stop or block that traffic. So it's a combination of kind of running it at the edge from a detection, protection, prevention perspective, and then we have this sort of core content protector engine that is self-learning on an ongoing basis, and that is kind of sitting at the core.
Is it part of a specific offering, or customers can just get Akamai Content Protector, or it just built within the security portfolio of Akamai?
Great question, Swapnil, right? And, so part of it is, as a product, Content Protector is available for the customer to consume. So they can come to Akamai and say, hey, I just want Content Protector because I'm dealing with the scraper bots and the malicious activity in that space. We'll do that deployment and we're able to support the customers. Now, obviously we have a very kind of flagship and market leading Akamai application security portfolio, right? So in the application security portfolio, we have our sort of AAP, which is a WAP. So it's a web application and API protection. We have the bot management capabilities, bot mitigation capabilities, account protector, client-side protection. So it's part of the overall sort of suite of products and capabilities that we have, including API security, which I know we have talked about in the past. But this can be utilized as a standalone solution.
And if you look at, once again, Akamai's portfolio, you have a whole dedicated section for, fraud protections. Like you have like account protector, everything. So once again, is it like part of the whole suite, so that, because the thing is, this is not an isolated problem. Users have to do, customers have to protect. So once again, talk a bit about, also sometimes when there are too many services, users get overwhelmed, so we have to simplify them for, hey, what, if you get this suite, it will protect identity management is there, account protection is there, content protection is there. That's what I'm trying to understand as well.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, right? So definitely we can offer it as a sort of, full suite, right? And say, hey, in the abuse and fraud space, these are all the different protections that we can deploy for you and support you. We're doing something a little bit, unique, right? Where we have the full suite and we're offering that, but we are also seeing a market need when you get into, certain enterprise customers or certain verticals or certain mid-market where they are very much wanting a scraper and scraping centric solution. So we can do that also. So I would say we have a very flexible where we will do the full suite, which is what we would recommend. But if we need to go deploy content protector and just deal with that problem, we have that ability to.
And the way I look at it is more or less like, no, you're not getting vendor logged in to get everything from us. You can just, if this is the problem you want to solve, you can get this and you can go and get it other things from somewhere else, or maybe you have in-house capabilities for that. So that's a very flexible model there.
Very flexible model. And I think something to your point, like there's no vendor lock-in, there's the agility comes in, right? To your point, it's really like, hey, I'm dealing with this thing. I got a big launch coming up. I'm launching new sneakers. I'm launching new events. I'm launching new, products. And I really want those products and those experiences for my consumers, my users, my clients, right? How do I get prepared? How do I get ready? So I'm not dealing with all of this thing. And see, there's a very interesting dimension that I will bring in since we are talking about it. Is a lot of times companies will do kind of marketing campaigns and they'll have this kind of analysis, right? On, hey, how effective was this marketing campaign or how effective was something? And there's a whole science and math involved. Now, what happens is that all of that gets a little bit messed up because, the bots are there and they're mixed up with all the other consumers and users. So you really don't know if the program was effective or not. You really don't know if what you were trying to do was accomplished or not. And then you can take a step further and you just spend a bunch of, IT infrastructure and cost and capacity and all of that to serve this kind of malicious or this bot traffic, right? That's not going to give you any value. So you ended up spending your digital and infrastructure resources on something that has no value. So this is really a business problem that we are seeing, right? So content protector is a security solution, but it's really a business enabler that we are coming forth with.
Now there are two things that happen. One is that the company is proactive. They're like, no, we should get content protector in place. And second is that they are suddenly under attack. Now they are launch a product. They were not even aware of something like that was there. So of course, it's very easy to, proactively go and plan for it. But what if somebody is already under attack? Can you help them as well?
Yeah, we can. And, we have both we have a kind of security managed services capabilities. We have a SOC, we have a, professional services organization. We are, here to help those customers in real time. Again, goes back to the beauty of the product capability and the platform because we're deploying at the edge. There's not this deep customer environment deployments or agents or apps or other things. So we can come in and rapidly help the customer in real time, right? In the event that all of these things are happening, we can support that quickly.
When we look at Akamai and when we look at all these customers, do you just like, hey, this is our product, go and buy it? Or you look at them more or less like partner that you help them because tools are easy, anybody, but sometimes cultural change is needed. Sometimes, right practices have to be in place. I'm aware that Akamai also create a lot of content. You work with a lot of developer advocates as well. But what do you do to bring that cultural change that is needed in companies so they do understand the importance of these kind of solutions which are there for them?
I really appreciate you bringing that up, Swapnil, because, and we've talked about it, on your show, that, the cultural aspect when it comes to cybersecurity, up and down the chain, right? It's yes, a boardroom conversation, but it's equally important in the mailroom, if I may, right? So that whole alignment of what needs to happen, how it needs to happen is very important. And what we are doing is we are helping the CISO teams or the responsible application security teams from an education awareness perspective. But in this particular example with content protector, it's really even sort of the deeper IT organizations or infrastructure or the business lines, right? So if I am a product owner at a a shoe company or a sneaker company, and I want to launch this, brand new product, and I want to make it special. But if I don't have the right kind of protections, all of that goes on the sideways, right? So it becomes a combo of the business lines, the IT infrastructure, and the security teams within the customer and organizations, and us sort of, partnering and helping. So again, I really think it's a true business enabler. I think Content Protector provides, direct business value to grow customers, digital business with confidence.
I think we had a discussion earlier as well that when we look at security, instead of approaching it, hey, you know what, this is something that slows developers down, that's developers don't want to talk to security, let's flip it on its head and think of it security as guardrails that gives you the protection, so you can innovate within those guardrails. You don't really have to worry about it. It actually helps you become more innovative. You can put the product out there, have the right pricing, attract your customer without worrying about somebody will either miss Taylor's show or they will pay the whole mortgage for 2 months to just watch a show. So also talk about that side of security, which is like building guardrails for innovation and developer experience.
Again, it's a great point, right? Is that, I feel like, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was always viewed as a tax, right? It's like, I gotta like deal with the security team, the CISO team, and we'll bring them last, right? That was the culture, like, we'll bring them last. And I think what has happened, and a lot of it is also what companies like Akamai or the other peer companies in cybersecurity has done, is we have brought forward to this whole concept of enabler, right? That these aspects of cybersecurity, the malicious activities, the adversaries, it's not going to go away. It's a big business for all of them, right? I mean, you look at all these reports, just the sheer amount of money that is involved. So it's not going to go away. It's many cases, it's, very well funded, right? They're running it as a very organized business, in many cases, even kind of state funded, state owned. So that is not going to happen, but we still need to digitally innovate, and we still need to digitize, and we still need to have smart cities, and we need to have autonomous everything, and we need to have healthcare that is better, and we need to have banking transactions, and we want to do entertainment. So how do you make all of that safe, secure, etc., right? And that is where a lot of the work that we are doing in education and awareness, and even our own thinking of the products and kind of building them in a way that just fit in that digital value chain, right? It doesn't have to be a tax. It's an enabler.
When it's come to content, the scrappers, are there law? Is it legal activity? Is it illegal activity? Are there laws for that, especially with the emergence of generative AI? If there are not, do you feel that there should be regulation that can help?
I'm not aware of any kind of specific regulations. And as I said, right, early on, that there are, it's been, on the public internet for many years now, and they serve a good purpose too, right? Like, for example, if I want to plan a vacation, I can go to an aggregator website and look at information of choices of airlines or pricing, or look at hotel options and all of that, right? So that aggregation aspect is the same technology of kind of scraping the information, organizing it, and presenting, which is a good use case, and it's valid, and people value that. I think it's the negative aspect of it, where it is the same technology is being utilized for malicious purpose, whether it is going back to the holding of the inventory, or kind of damaging the brand, or counterfeits, or stopping the good users to get access, which has an impact to the brand. So there's a lot of negativity that has come in. So hopefully, I can't say if regulation is going to stop or not, but at least the technology and the focus on it will prevent a lot of it and help customers be more successful.
Yeah, I mean, we still get calls about extending our car's warranty, right? If, when the Ticketmaster thing happened, there was a Senate hearing,
Yeah.
Ticketmaster was called in there. Yes, I do understand that it may be, but if you look at Europe, GDPR is there to protect, privacy, of
Right.
course,
Right.
Facebook and all the social media, they do leverage our information, but to some level, you have to protect it as well. So there is also executive orders on the generative AI as well a few days. So do you feel that it's time that something should be done, or you feel that no, we'll just keep solving the problem the way we are solving?
I think we should definitely do something, and I feel that in the last few years, at least the U.S. administration has taken so many steps, right, with the new orders that have passed in cybersecurity, the focus that they're putting on the whole kind of supply chain, and the importance that if you want to do business with each other, you need to make sure that you are secure and you're holding each other accountable. The same thing in a public and a private setting. So if I want to do business with the government, I need to follow those things. I think those things are very, very important, because we are all well intended, and our intentions are all well. We are sort of on the good guys team, and the only way to suppress and tackle the bad guys is going to be unifying, right, and building that Fort Knox and having the ability to fight that, right. So yes, I welcome more regulatory guidance and other ways that businesses can come together. And the same is very applicable in the API security space too, right? Because we discussed that API security it's like literally the lifeline of the digital world, and the transactions and everything is taking place. So how do I trust the other company's API from which I'm getting something or giving something, right? Or vice versa. So we will have to build a much more robust digital supply chain and ecosystem when it comes to that. And regulations help, and guidance helps, and unification helps.
Rupesh, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about content protector. I mean, we cover a lot of topics today. Thanks for all those great insights. And as usual, I would love to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate you having me on the show, Swapnil, and I look forward to our next conversation. Until then, bye bye.